James Ernest, Growing Truth Radio Network, here with Jim Hock, author of Hollywood's Team. Jim, what inspired you to write the book?
It's great to be on with you, James. The inspiration for this book is my dad played for the Rams in the 1950s as an offensive lineman. And in 2000, unfortunately, was dealing with kind of what we all go through with parents who are older. My dad had passed away from cancer, and at a memorial service in Los Angeles that we had for him, a number of his teammates, old teammates, came and were telling stories of what it was like to play ball for the Rams and play in the 1950s, and just kind of what a different time it was. And my brother kind of punched me on the arm and said, "Hey, you're a writer. You should write these up, these stories." And those stories eventually became this book, and it's called Hollywood's Team. It's about the Rams of the 1950s.
Nice. Are the Rams truly home now?
They are. I'm not a big fan of relocations. In this case, I would refer to it more as a restoration. The Rams were the first team to move west of Mississippi, and when they originally moved from Cleveland in the late 40s, they have a tremendous amount of fan support in Los Angeles. It was, personally, but I can tell you for lots of other folks, it was really hard to see them kind of go to St. Louis. And Los Angeles has had a football team for 20 years, but they've come back, and they're just about to start season 2. Was at their first preseason game a couple weeks ago. My wife thinks I'm crazy because we live in the Virginia area now, but have season tickets to a team 3,000 miles away. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised she didn't try to talk you into Redskins tickets.
We used to have those. We got rid of those.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of understandable how Dan Snyder is sometimes. It can't
exactly.
blame you there. So, was St. Louis a bad experiment? Was it a vacation? What was it?
St. Louis was, look, it's a great town. I feel bad for the St. Louis fans. But there was a planning to bring the team back to LA. The owner, unfortunately, the economics of sports do dictate, larger cities, there's an opportunity to make more money. And, instantly when the Rams moved back to Los Angeles, they went from a lower tier NFL franchise in terms of monetary, and this is according to Forbes, to one of the top 5 franchise worth in the NFL, instantly overnight, just by going to the second largest market. So, whereas I feel for the folks in St. Louis, I focus on kind of having the team back home, which is what I call it, because it's kind of fit in. I was at a Rams Fan Fest a few weeks ago in a random park in Southern California, and on a Saturday afternoon, and about 3,500 fans had showed up. It was like a tailgate, just to show you that there is a good sized following for the team in Southern California.
Nice. Yeah, because that's one of the concerns is just with the things, the movement, and all, trying to keep the fan base. But like you said, they've already had an established fan base from before, as opposed to say San Diego, with being new to California. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there is room for 2 teams in LA. I think it has to be done in the right way. Unfortunately, thus far, if you read and believe the newspapers, the fan support thus far for their 2 first preseason games have been underwhelming. For San Diego, for the Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers were in LA for 1 year in 1960, and then they moved to San Diego. Ironically, my dad was going to take a job as an offensive line coach then when he was young, one of his first jobs after the NFL. But I think they can develop a fan base, but it's going to take some time. But I do think the city can support 2 teams, and eventually, starting in 2020, when the Rams move in to their new stadium, the Chargers will be there as well. It'll kind of be a situation in kind of the New York metropolitan area where the Jets and the Giants play in the same stadium.
So they were the first team west of the Mississippi in football or in all sports?
In all sports.
Wow.
They preceded the Dodgers. They preceded the San Francisco Giants, who also moved from New York. They were the first team, kind of in the modern era of pro football, it's considered, post-World War II, to integrate a year before Jackie Robinson. The first team to have a television contract. All their games were televised. First team to reach 1 million fans. The first team to have a logo on their helmet. In many were the first modern pro sports franchise. Hall of Famers top to bottom, from Norm Grad Brocklin to Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch to Bob Waterfield to Tom Fears to Dick Night Train Lane, Les Richter, etc. But also, folks in the coach Sid Gilman is a kind of a innovator, one of the founders of the modern day passing game. He was one of the mentors for Al Davis, the former coach and owner of the Oakland Raiders. Pete Rozelle was their public relations person and their general manager, who became the NFL commissioner at age 33. It really was, the 50s was a time when football was really growing quickly. Major League Baseball was the national pastime and was much more in the public consciousness, but the 50s were building very quickly for the NFL, and it was the late 50s with the Giants and the Colts and the famous championship game in 1958 in overtime, where that kind of, it was a sport meant for television, therefore it was kind of meant for national following.
Excellent. So you would say, that's basically when the NFL started to expand, started to take over, and started to become the great game it is nowadays.
Exactly. It really modernized during the 50s, and kind of, if you give the analogy of a rocket ship, it was a rocket ship starting to take off. Another thing that Pete Rozelle did, he realized the power of the sport on television. So he saw that locally in Los Angeles, and again, they were the first team covered. But he took those lessons to the NFL, and signed those national television contracts where revenue sharing was key, etc., and it really helped the game grow. Another person who's in the Hall of Fame for the Rams at the time was Dan Reeves, who was the owner, who was constantly pushing the envelope. Unfortunately, he suffered from alcoholism. But one of their minority owners was the famous comedian Bob Hope, who was a constant presence at the game. And other folks, we call it Hollywood's team because there was a Hollywood element kind of throughout the franchise. I mentioned Bob Hope, but one of the players was married to Diane Disney, Walt Disney's daughter. Rams were often seen at Disneyland when it opened up in 1955. And it sounds crazy today, but Disneyland was, and we talk a little bit about this in the book, was built in less than a year.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's quick. So the important question is, with with all the celebrities and that kind of thing back there, was it a lot like how people think of the Lakers from the early 2000s, or the Knicks, where like you would look around the stands and you would see like Spike Lee and Jack Nicholson nowadays? Who like you said, who were some of the other big names we'd see looking around the stands back then?
Oh yeah, I mean you'd have Bob Waterfield, their quarterback, was married to a woman named Jane Russell, who was very famous for as an actress, but also until the 70s was known as the Cross Your Heart Bra woman. In the famous commercials. I mentioned Bob Hope. Gene Autry was also, the famous country singer, was also trying to buy into the team. But there were actors and actresses, throughout. I tell a couple stories of just, folks in the stands, but also, halftime shows and going with the players as well. It really was a place to see and be seen. And your point about the Lakers, there's this, they used to call it Showtime when the Lakers would play, and the Rams were kind of, I like to say, Showtime before the Lakers Showtime.
So tell us about the star of the book.
So there's really, the premise of the book, James, really was, again, trying to, talk about my dad and make sense of the stories that he had always told us. So my dad is kind of the central character, but he was a quiet guy. The quiet people who do their job day in and day out, who make any organization or any city or, any movie set work, the person holding the lights, but, that's the offensive lineman. So the book starts out with kind of him. He grew up in Los Angeles, steps from the Coliseum along with my mom. So it's a little bit of story of he, my mom, and, what it's like to kind of be in Ocean Warrior, playing for a professional football team. And then what I try to do is kind of tell a story about the team, a lot of the personalities, and then the city as well. And Los Angeles kind of exploding in population during the 1950s and post World War II. So, it kind of has a number of different kind of threads running through it. There's a chapter on the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles. One of the women that was instrumental in there, Roz Wyman, was a city councilwoman. She's a person that been a long mentor of mine, so she was really gracious with her time, and we told the story from Roz's perspective of what it was like to try to, she was a 22, 23-year-old city councilwoman trying to convince the owner of the Dodgers, Walter O'Malley, to move. And so I felt you couldn't tell a story about the Rams in the 50s without, telling that story. Also the integration story, of Kenny Washington and Woody Strode, like I said, a year before Jackie Robinson. So there are a number of stories kind of weaved throughout. The way they worked out was much different. For example, my dad would always say he was discouraged. Say that again. He was discouraged by coaches from lifting weights, which is kind of amazing to think about today. But back then, science of kind of physiology wasn't as sophisticated, and they believed that if you lift weights, it made you stiffer and not as limber to make or quick, for example. So he would literally pull his garage door down and start to do his weightlifting routine. But that was very common, and the workout regimens were much different. The financial model was obviously much different. The league didn't make as much money, so therefore the players didn't make as much money. And I highlight the fact that my dad is a Pro Bowl NFL lineman who's unfortunately his career was cut short by a knee injury, but he essentially made the exact same amount of money as my mother, who was a elementary school teacher in Los Angeles at the time. And there was a story I highlight when my dad did make the Pro Bowl. He got $500 for being in the Pro Bowl, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but back then, for him it was. And my mother really wanted a bedroom set, so to this day they went out and they bought a bedroom set with that $500. To this day, my mom's still alive. She calls it the Pro Bowl set.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, back then, I mean, the opportunity to go to the Pro Bowl, to get the get the bonus check, I'm sure was huge, for your dad, as opposed to nowadays. Unfortunately, a lot of the players are just so accustomed to getting things like being able to just go off to Hawaii like it's nothing, that some of them will even fake injuries not to have to go to the game. It's ridiculous.
Right, exactly. That's a big honor for my dad to be in the Pro Bowl. Unfortunately, he suffered from really bad knees, so his knees are almost a character in the book as well. So, a young guy struggling with knees and just kind of fighting to stay on the field was a theme for my dad. But, he loved playing. He loved, kind of everything about it. His teammates were some of his best friends throughout his life, and it was great to be able to talk to a lot of them to kind of put color and details on stories that I had heard. But I'd also talked to not only players that played for the Los Angeles Rams, but players that played throughout the league at the time. Names like Frank Gifford, Art Donovan, Andy Robustelli, folks that, Hall of Famers in their own right at different teams, wanted to, talk to them as well. And they were just incredibly gracious with their time, and some of those stories are highlighted in the book. Another theme or line of stories in the book is, what they did in the off season. Some were extras on movie sets, some were, worked in, sporting goods stores, some were substitute teachers, high school teachers like my father. So they did, they had off-season jobs. It wasn't a full-time job to be an NFL football player at the time.
Exactly. I mean, that's why it's great that they've been able to get, the collective bargaining agreements and work some of that out, because of, like you said, with, how physical the game is, that to be able to focus specifically on the sport as opposed to having to worry about doing the off-season type of jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it'd be amazing if teachers, still made the same amount as athletes, but for athletes to make the same amount as teachers is not a good thing.
Right, exactly.
So tell us, how can fans get the book?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, a number of different bookstores. You can get them online. Again, it's called Hollywood's Team. We have a website called hollywoodsteam.com. Also, you can follow us on Twitter
Excellent. Are there any upcoming signing events for you?
Yeah, we'll be at a number of games in LA. We'll be at the first game opening on September 10th, uh, and some other games during the year. So look for scheduling on HollywoodSteam.com. But yeah, no, we're constantly talking about the book, and it's an honor to answer questions about it. And I'm just really pleased that folks are receptive to it and are receptive to a story that not just about football, but it's about family. It's about a special time, a special place, and to learn some stories, and also for folks in Los Angeles too, and around the country, realizing what great sports fans there are in Southern California, even though a lot of folks don't believe that.
Excellent. Do you have any of the cast members picked out in your mind for when it's optioned?
My nephew's an actor, so I would love for him to play my dad if they ever did option it.
Awesome. So your nephew's a bigger fella, lineman-like?
He is kind of 6'2", strapping, handsome young guy.
Okay,
so,
yeah, that'll work then.
My dad, back then they weren't as big, James. So my dad was 6'2", 245, 250 my playing days. So he'd probably be, smaller than a fullback, but that was a professional offensive lineman back in the day.
Yeah, that is true. That is one of the things, like you said about the weightlifting and all earlier, that fans for modern football will sometimes forget is that just the evolution of the players and how they've changed over such time. That wow, 6'2", 240 something. You're right. Yeah, that's a fullback. Heck, maybe even a running back.
Exactly. It's a different time.
Definitely. But yeah, we're greatly appreciate you coming on the show to talk the book. And before you go, any other books in the works?
Not at this point. I have two young boys, and I have a company I work for and keep pretty busy. I never meant to publish a book out of this. I was actually just writing it for my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a friend in the book business who said, "You have a book named Hollywood's Team. The Rams are moving back to LA. You need to publish this. It's a great story."
Exactly.
So no plans at this point. And the other thing too is a lot of our proceeds personally are going to go to a charity for young at-risk kids in Los Angeles called Homeboy Industries. So this was a labor of love, James. Never was I'm not an author by trade or by background. It's just a fun project to do, and I get to talk about my dad and the team that I love, and hopefully some good comes out of it along the way.
Sounds great. We wish you the best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, James. Appreciate it.